we'll be starting in a couple of moments.
All right, we are preparing to live stream. We're setting up our webinar for YouTube Live. And we're on.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm missing, but we'll talk about it later to make sure that there's not a step I've skipped. But thank you for getting us running. Okay.
I'm so confused. So now
How about we do a practice session either like early next week?
Yes, great idea.
Okay.
Okay. Are you good?
I'm good. Susan, I'm so glad that you had a chance to meet Megan. This is the second time I've had to call her in.
I am so confused. We're going to sort this out.
We will. I'm confident that we will.
You're expanding your wisdom base.
All right, Megan, can you return the host assignment to me?
Yep.
We have 42 people registered for this evening's program, and we have 12 so far. So we're just going to allow a little bit more time, Susan, if that's okay.
Before you let them in?
Well, they're all the doors are for them to come in, but before we begin.
And I just want to clarify that the YouTube people will not see the handouts while we're talking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, they will see your presentation, but they will not have handouts in their hand.
They will see it on the screen. Okay,
Correct.
Beautiful.
And Megan, you're muted. Welcome, everyone. We are going to get started in just a few moments. We have 17 people who've arrived in tonight's Zoom webinar so far. We did have 42 people register, so we're just going to spend a moment or two and just give them time to come on board, making sure that there weren't any difficulties in them being able to enter. I do see a chat. Susan, you have a hello from an individual on your chat.
I do. I'm sending her a reply.
There you go. You're good.
All right. Wonderful, Megan. Thank you. Feel free to stick around if you'd like to. I welcome any chance to de-stress.
I will probably leave you now and do some research as to what is happening with this. Okay. Susan, I'm so happy to meet you and have a great program.
Likewise. Thank you, Megan. I'm going to put up my program now. Start sharing the program.
Great.
There we go. Okay.
Thank you, Susan. And please just allow me a few moments just to welcome everyone to tonight. I want to say welcome to tonight's program, which is Reduce Shelter-in-Place Stress, and it'll be going until about 8 o'clock this evening. As I mentioned, we have 42 people registered for tonight's program, and this session will also be available on the library's YouTube channel, which is what we just spent a few minutes working on. It will be recorded and available for the next 2 weeks or so, and possibly longer if there's a continued interest. So while all attendees are muted, you do have access to a chat feature at the bottom of your screen. And our speaker, Susan Ashenson, invites us to have an interactive presentation where patrons can submit questions during the program. I hope the process to register and enter the Zoom presentation went smoothly for you. I had a few hiccups, but I think that they've been handled. If you did have any difficulties, I'm going to share my email address with you in the chat feature. And you have access to that if you want to let me know of your experiences in using Zoom for my program or any of my colleagues' programs. You're most welcome to get in touch with me. I do want to make mention that we're all adhering to health and safety issues in our service area, and the library, of course, wants to continue offering as much as we can to our patrons. So we thank you for staying in touch with us and for expressing interest in our online programs. Susan, I'm going to turn the floor over to you in just a moment. I just want to say thank you for being here and working with me to put tonight's program together. Susan and I have known each other for the last few years. We met through the Hoffman Estates Chamber of Commerce, and she has just been a very inspiring presence to all chamber members. She's very active in the community. She's a licensed clinical professional counselor, and she's going to bring a very essential topic to us tonight about how to de-stress with what we are all facing. So tonight's program, like I said, will go to 8 o'clock. And in addition to treating yourself to tonight's topic, I also invite you, there is a full moon tonight, and it is a super moon. The moon rising will be happening. You could still have time to see it after the session. It's a full flower moon of May. So I know that I'm excited about tonight's session and also taking time to see that moon when it's over. So Susan, welcome.
It's a perfect evening. Thank you so much, Patty. It's been such a delight knowing you and the wonderful Schomburg Library, which is my planned retirement. When I retire, I'm just going to live there all day and read all of your books. So I'm delighted to welcome all of you to Reduce Shelter in Place Stress. As you can see, I am Susan Acheson, founder of A Healing Soul, where you can free yourself to be yourself. Those of you who registered ahead of time, most of you have these handouts, which Patty thoughtfully emailed to you. And those of you who are on YouTube Live, if you want to take a screenshot of it, then you're more than welcome to do that. So I have over 20 years of experience in helping people to restore calm as a licensed counselor, advanced clinical hypnotherapist, certified aromatherapist, meditation leader, and Reiki practitioner. If you'd like to reach out to me, my information is right there at the bottom of that slide. So the goals today for us are to learn easy ways, because when we're stressed, now thinking of stress, now my computer's telling me my internet is unstable. So we want to learn easy ways, because when we're stressed, the last thing we want is like something really hard to learn or to do, right? So we're going to learn how to release and to reclaim a clear mind. And if we have all those things, it's a wonderful way of living. And then how we're going to get there is through some teaching information. And so we'll review how our brains, our nervous systems, and our bodies react to stress and why they react that way. So we have that foundation of understanding. Sometimes people come in my office and they kind of judge and blame themselves for their own natural reactions. And so it's really good to understand how the body works and the reason it does. And then we'll have some easy exercises that you can use almost anytime and anywhere to reduce your stress. So we're going to start out with the information of what is stress. And stress is a biological and psychological response that you experience when you encounter a threat that you do not have the resources to deal with. So if you think about it, if you had the resources to deal with it, you wouldn't be stressed. You would just deal with it and move on. So it's really based on our lack of or loss of power and control. And then what do we consider to be a stressor, something that causes us stress? So it's a stimulus, something, a threat that makes us feel unsafe. And the kinds of stress that we have are external stress, and those can be kind of categorized in two ways. There's acute stress, and that means something that happens, in the moment, a test coming up, a divorce, moving, or a significant loss. And then there's your chronic or long-term stress, like caring for a person or a dysfunctional job that just kind of goes on and on and on. And then we have internal stress, and that's when your mind is creating patterns in your life. So there may not even be anything really going on outside externally, but our minds are running some kind of program or pattern that finds threats and has us feel unsafe, even in those relatively benign times. And usually that's a result of us having had some trauma when we were younger. So in addition to those, now, of course, the reason you're here tonight is we have the pandemic and quarantine related causes. And that might be your new schedules, your new responsibilities, homeschooling, your kids or your spouse at home all day, learning how to be on video conferences, being on video conferences. There's a lot of articles out now about how that's more draining for people. Wearing face masks and protective gear, and then uncertainty. Uncertainty is a big factor in stress about your health, your finances, your job, as well as we don't any longer mostly have our usual coping outlets like exercise, movies, eating out, visiting with friends, and so forth. It's important, and we touched on trauma earlier just for a moment, but it's important to understand that stress is not just in the now. So when you have that threat, your body instantly assesses the situation and decides whether or not it's stressful. And the typical example stress researchers give is the tiger poised to leap at you. So it's going to be based on what's happening now, and that in itself is based on sensory input. What do you see? You see the tiger. What do you hear? You hear the growl. What do you smell? You might smell the tiger's smell. Or what do you feel? For instance, if you put your hand on something way too hot, you would be feeling that. That's a threat to your safety. And then it also is what happened earlier in your life, memories. And the body does this, our brain does this for a very good reason, because it wants you to learn from what's unsafe, so you can help to avoid or escape faster. So it's what happened the last time you were in a similar situation. So stressful situations not only carry their own current stress, but they also can re-trigger emotions and physical reactions from earlier traumas. You know, they say once burned, twice shy. Or we see this a lot in people with PTSD who have been in extremely threatening situations. And they have very extreme reactions to it, which is their body trying to keep them safe. So what happens in our bodies when we're under stress? Our bodies automatically produce heart rate increases, and this is boosting our circulation to get ready for action. Our breathing becomes faster and shallower. This amps us up for action. There's a decrease in digestive activity. This stops unnecessary functions. If you're running from the tiger, you don't want to be slowed down by your body digesting, your lunch. And so that's also for action. And then our liver releases glucose for energy. Again, getting ready for action. So you really notice the common theme. All of this is getting us ready for action. We take a little bit deeper of a dive into that. Stress is activating the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal system. So it's going to be a test on how to pronounce that in a few minutes. So the hypothalamus stimulates your pituitary gland right there in the center of your head. The pituitary is connected to the knee bone. The pituitary gland secretes adrenocorticotropic hormone, which in turn stimulates your adrenal glands, which are perched there by your kidneys, to release a stress hormone called cortisol. You probably all heard about cortisol. And cortisol is released because it helps to suppress the immune system, which helps to control swelling after an injury. So suppressing the immune system is a good thing if you're under that immediate acute stress. And then it also will release triglycerides as little fatty particles into the bloodstream for energy, again, for action. So in summary, all of this is what you've probably heard of as the fight or flight response. Your body wants to take an action to flee or to fight to keep you safe. And when your body can't do that, we can't run away from being quarantined. We can't run away from a bad job. We can't fight, something that we can't see like a virus. So stress is created by inactivity when your body is calling for activity. And I'm going to give you an example of a colleague of mine who is handling the quarantine by being in a trailer in Arizona with her husband and daughter, close quarters with your family with you all the time. And she was having a lot of trouble on her computer, and she had posted on Facebook that she just got so frustrated that she just got up and stormed out of the trailer. And sometimes when we do things like that, we're sort of, judging ourselves like, oh, I couldn't handle it. I should have been able to sit there and work it out. But actually what was happening for her, she was intuitively doing exactly the right thing. So she had all those fight or flight hormones come up. And if we don't take an action and we don't deal with it, it never completes the cycle. So by getting up and running out of the trailer, that activated the action in her muscles, her circulation, her blood, and that allowed her body to complete that cycle. So then afterwards, she showed us pictures she had taken of the beautiful landscape where she was. She completed that stress cycle and she was able to return to her baseline of being a happy person. So if you can use your chat, or if you're on YouTube Live, you might want to just get a piece of paper and write down for yourself. Share with me and us some of your stressors right now. What are you feeling stressed about? Let's just see what people are going to share with me that they feel stressed about. So we have not getting enough sleep and work responsibilities. We have finding employment, working while e-learning, that's a big one. Reduction in hours at work. Finances, absolutely, very important. Living alone while dealing with health issues, wondering if I can get help if I need it. Stress about family health and due to the corona, and loneliness. Absolutely very, very common things people are dealing with. Not seeing your family, that goes with loneliness. Not feeling connected, not being able to give a hug, not having enough exercise, all those things. Thank you for sharing all of that. Needing hugs, right? Okay. Somebody sent me a virtual hug today. How long being at homes and summer activities are canceled, right? It's another. About these stressors or any others that come to you, what are your reactions? What are your physical reactions to these stressors? If you can share those with us, like, do you get a headache? Do you tense your jaw? Do you find out that you're really grinding your teeth a lot? Eating and not sleeping. Somebody says she was not able to attend her daughter's wedding. I'm so sorry. So one woman has her heart racing, stomach ache, crying, eating too much, comfort eating, right? Sleeping, depression, harder to be patient, right? We don't have all the resources we used to have. So we experience in our bodies depression, that sadness, that lethargy. And that kind of bridges to what are your emotional reactions to these stressors? We had some already say crying, depression. What else? What other emotions do you have? Anger, that's a good one. Thank you for acknowledging that. 2 people. Anger, very short fuse, absolutely. Anxiety and worry. Yeah. Some people say anger is based on fear. Anxiety, worry, sadness. One woman ignores the situation. Anger is hard because I'm not angry about being home, more about expectations, maybe higher for spouse. Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, what are your thoughts about those stressors? And then this last person said, my expectations may be higher for my spouse. So that's already bridging into the thought component. What are our thoughts about these stressors? Like, is it unfair? This always happens to me. Is this stress, and particularly a big stress, this is not only sort of a sudden one, because didn't this happen very suddenly, but it's also an extended or chronic one. So this one really has many components to it. And that's very likely to activate our earlier traumas. Like somebody, I was reading an article, they said, a person may not be so angry that they can't get a haircut as it's reactivating their fears of being stuck at home with an unsafe caregiver or parent. So it does activate. And that, again, that's what our body-mind system is designed to do, is to remind us of when we weren't safe in an effort to keep us safer. So what are some of your thoughts? When will it be over? Is it safe to return to work?
I'm sorry, all. It seems as though we lost Susan. I'm going to get in touch with her. Just, I think she was having some issues with her internet connection. If you could just bear with me, and we will see if we can bring her back in. Okay, Susan, I think you're back in. Let's get you, you are muted. Let's unmute you and let's continue with where we were.
So isn't it just perfect that if we're doing a talk on stress, we have a little bit of a glitch, right? All right, so let's see. We have short fuse with my son. Patience is harder, eating too much, wondering about whether it's safe to return to work. Okay, so let me share my screen again. So here we go. So we're going to look at what we can do about it. So stress has a lot to do with lack of control. So let's look at what you might be able to control. Stress has to do with uncertainty. So perhaps if we can break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces, we can have a little bit of certainty about that tiny little piece that we can do. Stress has a lot to do with inactivity. Again, the adrenaline is continually going in this circle through your body because it's never completed. So if you can take an action or even work out in some way, that helps to complete that cycle. So one very easy activity, highly recommended by psychologists, is to acknowledge the stressor. So I'd like you to right now get out 2 pieces of paper. Well, that's one, but get out 2, and a pen or pencil. And on the first piece of paper, write down one of your stressors. And here's a pro tip. Start with one of the lesser stressors. When we're first starting to work with things, you want to grab what they call the low-hanging fruit. So too much laundry, not a large, very large loss. And then fold this paper up and keep it handy because we're going to use it later. So we're going to just hold that up. You don't see it. Just put that to the side. And then take another piece of paper and write down what you want instead. It's like a peaceful relationship, a rewarding job, patience, calmness, happiness again. And you want to keep that paper. That's a good one for you to have. So here's a question for you to send by chat. What is the difference between complaining, venting, and sharing? What's the difference between complaining, venting, and sharing? Complaining is not productive. So nothing sometimes. I love that. Complaining is not productive. Venting, you will make progress. Complaining, you don't have anything positive to say. Sharing is a give and take. Sharing is healing. That's beautiful. Frequency. Somebody says frequency. So they're right. Complaining, venting, you can get out your frustration and move on. Sharing, you can work out the problems. You already know. Complaining is we're really kind of stuck in the problem. We don't always want to do something about it. And that's not necessarily a 100% bad thing. Sometimes we just need to complain for a little while, like kind of, roll around in the mud of it for a little while till we feel like, that's enough. But if we get stuck in complaining, we're not really moving towards a solution. And then we feel stuck. So venting is, sometimes my clients will come and they'll say, well, I just need to get this out. And they'll just, put it out. And they don't want to brainstorm about solutions, but they're not complaining because they're just acknowledging, I need to get it out. I need to have somebody hear it. Having somebody listen to you, really listen to you, it really helps you with that. Sharing, Debbie says, can work out the problems, and that's beautiful. And one person is honest and says the intent to solve or get others to agree with you with sharing, possibly. I think that's what you're talking about. Okay, so when we share what we're feeling, as many of you had said, pain shared is pain divided. So pain shared is pain divided. So when we share it, now we're only carrying part of the load. We've let somebody else take it and they don't need to keep it, but we feel a little lighter, a little bit better. So when you share your feelings with someone you trust, the act of verbalizing actually helps your brain to make new connections. So speaking what's been in your mind sends neurons on a pathway between sections of your brain that helps you to see maybe the forest instead of just being stuck in the trees of one little section. And so you can then come up with some solutions because you're making new connections in your brain. The feeling of having somebody fully listen to and understand you helps your heart to heal, doesn't it? So activity number 2 for helping you with your stress is breathing. So how many of you here are breathing right now? I hope that's everybody. Breathing is something that you have with you all the time. So breathing is the link between your autonomic functions, the things that happen automatically. You don't have to think about your circulation, your heart beating, your digestion, your elimination, or really even your breath. Those happen automatically. Things you do have to think about or command to happen are your voluntary functions. You move your head, you move your hand. Those are voluntary functions. And that includes your breath and your lungs. So you cannot change your heart rate. You cannot stop sweating. Some of us wish we could, but we can't. You cannot change your digestion in the moment, but you can change your breathing. So your breathing is the doorway or the portal between your autonomic and your voluntary system. And what that means is you can use your breath to start to affect the autonomic systems, to slow them down. So here's a little intro to breathing for stress relief. And start by knowing that deep breathing is so powerful that the American Institute of Stress named it the best stress reduction technique of all. And there are many, many, many breathing techniques and exercises, but most will have a few features in common. They want you to be aware of your breathing pattern. We can't change or modify something unless we're aware of it. They want you to usually inhale through your nose. Your nose has dozens, if not more, functions. It filters out so many impurities. It really cools and warms the air. Breathing through your nose is very, very helpful for your body. Often they want you to exhale through your mouth because that helps you to exhale more fully. And often a longer exhale than inhale, because sometimes people get anxious because they're breathing short and shallow, like we saw happens under stress. When we're doing that, we're not exhaling fully. And so there's not room for the new oxygen, the new breath to come in. And after a little while of this, the body becomes alarmed. There's no room, there's not enough oxygen. Thinks that you can't breathe, but actually you're not exhaling enough. So let's just notice, let's explore breathing. And right now, just notice how you breathe. So just be aware of how you're breathing now. And don't judge it. First thing a lot of us want to do is judge. So don't judge, just notice. How's your breath? Is it shallow? Is it deep? Is it average? Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it average? Think about, notice now where you're breathing into. Are you breathing into just your upper chest, your whole chest area, or even down into the very bottom of your lungs and your stomach? And as you notice this, notice how you feel right now. And you might use a scale 1 to 5. 1 is very, very stressed. 2 is a little less stressed. 3 is neutral. 4 is somewhat peace and calm. And 5 is very peaceful and calm. You can either put it in chat or you can write it down for yourself. It's just kind of a nice way for you to keep track of how you're feeling. So as we progress through the stress relieving exercise, you can really have that validation of how you're becoming calmer. So let's just practice a little bit, slowing and deepening your breath. So just inhale through your nose and exhale long and slow through your mouth. You don't have to make the shh sound. I just kind of automatically do that when I'm demonstrating for people, so they know that I'm exhaling through my mouth. So let's do this 2 more times. 3 is a really good number for practicing. So inhale through your nose and exhale long and slow through your mouth. You absolutely don't have to do it at the same rate as I'm doing it. Your third inhale through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And then just notice how you feel. Do you feel any different? One person gave how she felt before this exercise a 3. Notice if you feel any different. And you don't have to feel different. We're just practicing and noticing. So now we're going to try nostril breathing. This is a yoga technique. And I want to share that if you're pregnant or you have breathing difficulties such as asthma or any other respiratory restriction, skip this particular exercise. Don't do difficult breathing exercises. You probably want to skip the next one as well. But you can listen to it, and we're going to move on to some other things you'll be able to do. So your different nostrils actually have different functions and different effects. The right nostril tends to energize the body, while the left nostril is calming and cooling. So because the left nostril tends to be calming and cooling, you can calm and cool yourself by breathing through your left nostril. So you're just going to take your right hand And you, with your fingers outstretched up, just gently put your thumb on the outside of your right nostril and put gentle pressure on it. Don't, push your nose over. Just put gentle pressure on it. Keeping the rest of your fingers straight, pointing towards the sky. Some yogi masters will say that your fingers act like antennas to gather the cosmic energy. So who couldn't use some more energy? So that's a nice concept. And then gently closing off your right nostril, breathe in just through your left nostril. And then just hold it for a moment, just a moment, and then breathe out through your left nostril. Imagine that you're breathing out all tension and stress. And then let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling just through your left nostril, holding for a moment, then exhaling just through your left nostril. Nice long exhale. One final time, breathing in through your left nostril, holding. Some people imagine that they're holding it at the spot right between the eyebrows, and then exhaling all tension and stress out through your left nostril. You might even feel a little calmer, a little cooler as you breathe in. This is a lovely one to do when you're going to bed. It can help you to relax and calm down and cool down so you can go to bed. Now, the next breathing technique is really a interesting one because it's used by first responders in the military. It's based on the book called On Combat: The Psychology and Physiology of Deadly Conflict in War and Peace by Dave Grossman and Lauren Christensen. So who needs to know more about staying calm under pressure during stress than people who are first responders or in the military? So what they say is practicing this inoculates you against stress and helps you to stay in the neutral zone, not overexcited and not too lethargic, right? In that good, healthy neutral zone. So I'm just going to talk you through it first. You're going to breathe now with both nostrils. You're going to breathe in through your nose to the count of 4. And as you breathe in, you breathe into your belly if at all possible. You're going to hold that breath to the count of 4. And then you're going to exhale through your mouth to the count of 4. Let your belly collapse like a balloon. And then hold that empty space for a count of 4. So let's try that now. So just breathe in through your nostrils. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold empty. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take a nice breath in between. We're going to do that again. So breathe in through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. And one more time. In through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that inhale. 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Hold that empty space. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in again and just notice how you feel. One of our participants said she's tried meditation and breathing. It doesn't work for her. Reading or coloring is doing something that calms her down. And that's really wise to be aware. Somebody's yawning now, so that usually means you're a little more relaxed. There's not a one size fits all. So I love that this person shared that meditation and breathing doesn't work for her. Everybody's brain and body and nervous system is different. We have to honor who we are. Okay, so Lisa's loving these techniques. I'm so happy you like them. Good. And you don't have to memorize them again. You're going to have them on the slides. Okay, so now, because I'm kind of a creative person, I got tired of counting to 4, so I took that 4x4 and I brought in thoughts. So instead of counting from 1 to 4, when I breathe in, I would say, I breathe in peace. When I held it, I would say internally, because I'm breathing, I can't talk, I am in peace. When I breathe out through the mouth, I would internally say, I share my peace. And when I held the exhale, I would say, may all have peace, or may all be peace. So you can use your own words. There's no magic in these words. It's good to have the 4 syllables. I had to work a little bit to get to the right ones because, when I breathe in peace, that was good. Then I thought, well, it helps us to rest. So in the holding, I was saying, I rest in peace. And I realized that wasn't the best phrase to use. Okay. So I brought in, I am in peace. You can bring in whatever phrase you want. Okay. So now activity number 3 is upgrading your thoughts. And this has been recommended since thousands of years ago. So you look at the quotes by Buddha in the 5th or 6th century. He said, we are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. And then we have in the 1940s, Viktor Frankl, who was a survivor of 4 concentration camps. So he had a lot of experience in really acute, chronic, and significant stress. He said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. So he's taking the control by saying the power to choose. He's taking that control we talked about earlier. And our contemporary, Brian Tracy, says, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude towards what happens to you. And in that, you will be mastering change rather than allowing it to master you. Okay. So thinking about thoughts, we have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. I always wonder who's counting those. Most of them, it's said, are the same thoughts from day to day. And most of those tend to be on the negative side, which might include ruminating about past mistakes or worrying about the future. So how can we upgrade our thoughts? Step 1, we need to be aware of our thoughts. Step 2, understand that you are not your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. So a lot of times when we first start becoming aware, before we become aware, we think we're our thoughts. That's us. That's driving us. We think the thoughts are in control, but actually we are in control of our thoughts. We're hopefully, yeah. So know that you can change your thoughts. And step 4, decide how you want to feel and choose thoughts that match that. And step 5 would be practice, 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 right? Consistent practice is like a sports drill or practicing music. You do it over and over and over and over because it's not natural at first. And eventually it becomes more automatic. So somebody here said that somebody might have a TV on in the background. What you might be seeing is I have a china cabinet with a mirrored back in the background, so it might be reflecting something. So the Johari window is something used by psychologists, and that is, we're on the 4x4 pattern here. So they got 4 quadrants, and these are things about ourselves. So up here in this quadrant is things that we know about ourselves and things that other people also know about ourselves. And then we have things that we don't know about ourselves, but other people know about us. And that's called that blind spot. And then down here, we have things that we know about ourselves, but other people don't know about us. And that might just be something where one of my teachers once said, there's a difference between secrets and keeping something confidential. So I love that. And then over here in this quadrant, we have things that we don't know and nobody else knows either. So that's something that's probably under development in us. So how do we upgrade our thoughts? Well, meditation helps us to become aware of our thought patterns. Meditation helps us to be non-attached to our thoughts. Meditation helps us to become comfortable with neutral or positive thoughts. And let's just pause there for a moment, because sometimes I'll have somebody I'm working with in my office and they have overcome some anxiety and they'll sit on my sofa and they'll say, I feel odd, I feel weird. And what's happening is they're not used to being calm. And so if we've been wired up our whole lives, we're not comfortable necessarily with neutral or positive thoughts. So just know that that's something that you will get comfortable with after a while. And then it also trains your brain to orient towards positive thoughts. Pro tip number 2, be kind to yourself. Treat your mind like a little child. If it goes off in the wrong direction, don't yell at it. Just take it by the hand and gently redirect it. So that's from a yoga teacher I had about 40 years ago, and I love that. It's still true. And if your mind does revert to an unwanted thought pattern, one of my fellow hypnotherapists said that she would do something. She would say, I remember when I used to. I remember when I used to have anxious thoughts. So she's already putting that in the past. And then she's not attaching to it. She's not, it's not that I have anxious thoughts, and she's not judging herself and said, a bad person, I should be more advanced than this, you know, the things we do. She says, I remember when I used to have those. So she's just taking care of it, just put it in the past. Or this is one of my personal favorites. You could just replace that thought with something like, I choose peace. So remember, stress happens when your body wants to be active and you're inactive. So the saying is, the issues are in the tissue, so we need to move our bodies to release tension. And an easy way to do that is progressive muscle relaxation. So progressive muscle relaxation is something where you just squeeze and release each section of your body one at a time. And you can combine it with your breath. So let's say you're gonna start with your head. So you would inhale while you squeeze, and you squeeze your face really tight as you hold your breath, and then you let go of that squeeze and you exhale. So we're going to do a brief little practice of this now. So just sit comfortably with both feet on the floor, and we're going to start with your face. Start by bringing your attention to your face. And now inhale and scrunch up your eyes tightly. Make them tense and tight. Feel that tension. Your face is squeezed really tight. And then when you hear the chime, let that go. Exhale, let all of your muscles relax. Feel all that tension draining out of your face. And then we're going to do the jaw and the mouth. So again, inhale and tighten up your jaw, your mouth, clench your teeth. Feel that tension, tighten your lips. Feel that in your jaw, and then exhale, let all that go. Feel the muscles in your jaw and your mouth relaxing. Let all that drain out. Become more and more relaxed. And then we're going to go to our hands and just inhale and make fists in your hands, and feel that tension going all the way up your arms. Feel that tightness across your shoulders, the back of your neck, like rubber bands, so tight. And exhale. Release all that weight you've been carrying on your shoulders. It feels so good to let it go. Your shoulders feel so much lighter now. Big weight's been left off. Feeling lighter and freer. So now inhale and tighten up your stomach muscles and your buttocks muscles, that whole lower area. Just tense and tight the way you feel when you feel scared. Feel that tension and tightness in your stomach, and exhale. Let it all go. Feel that wonderful warm wave of relaxation. Your body feels so relaxed now. Notice how relaxed you're feeling. And then we're going to do just your left leg. So inhale and tighten up just your left leg from your hip to your toes, tighter and tighter. Feel that tension, and exhale. Let it all go. Feel the tension draining out of your left leg. And feel the difference now between your left leg and your right leg. And then we're going to do your right leg. So inhale, tighten up your right leg from your hip to your toes, tighter and tighter, so tight, and exhale. Let your right leg be loose and limp and relaxed. And now we're going to do all the muscles in your body. So take a great big inhale, tighten up all the muscles, your face muscles, your eyes, your mouth, clench your teeth, make fists tighten across your shoulders, your neck, your stomach, your hips, your legs, all the way down. Feel that tension and big exhale. Let it all go. You might even imagine that all the tension is gray stuff just flowing out the soles of your feet, allowing yourself to feel lighter and freer and lighter. And now take another just beautiful, normal, regular breath, feeling yourself sitting safely and comfortably in your chair. If you had your eyes closed, open your eyes, come back and join us. There's a very nice little experience of being progressive muscle relaxation. And you can pretty much do that almost anywhere. And now activity 5 is laughing. And the quote we have here is, "My body needs laughter as much as it needs tears because both are cleansers of stress." So laughing is more than just a good laugh. Laughing has a biological purpose. It lets others know that it's safe to laugh. And our brain runs on neurons. So when we sense something, a little neuron fires off and it goes on a little pathway across the brain. And so you might remember Pavlov's dog. If they ring the bell while they put the food in front of the dog, the bell neuron gets fired and the food neuron gets fired and they wire together. So now they're always associated with one another. And so that happens with stress too. So we get a bill in the mail and it's already, wired into our feeling anxious and upset. So laughter can change that. Laughter can unwire those things that are wired together. And so once you have unwired those, you can have the same stressor. You can get that bill in the mail and not feel that same stress you used to feel. Okay, so we're going to start with a very easy exercise. So this is also balances the left and right sides of your brain. So what you're going to do is you're going to clap twice in front of your body while saying ho, ho, and then clap 3 times to the right while you say ha, ha, ha. And then back in the middle, ho, ho, 3 times to the right, ha, ha, ha. We're going to do this 2 more times. A little bit faster. Ho, ho, ha, ha, ha. 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 So after a while, you're doing that, you go faster and faster, and you really just start to laugh. So now you're creating a happy feeling in your brain. So now second easy exercise is the laughter with the shaking of your hands. So you're going to lift your left hand up in the air, shake it vigorously for 10 seconds while you laugh. So ha 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 ha. Okay, shake it out. Lift your right arm up. You're going to lift, shake it, and laugh about 10 seconds. Okay, and now lift both hands up. So you're doing action, not just laughing. You're moving your body. So go, look, ready, go. Okay, so very good, very good. That's a fun laughter exercise. So now I want you to get out a piece of paper on which you wrote your stressor. So what you're going to do is you're going to unwire the stress from that stressor. So you're going to unfold it. You're going to look at it. And you're going to laugh uproariously like it's the funniest thing you've ever seen. So can you believe this? You can show it to people. That's the funniest thing I've ever seen. And when you feel you're done with that, if you want, you can tear that stressor page up. and you're done with it. That just feels great. So notice how you feel. So you might want to put in chat how you're feeling. Just noticing how you're feeling. Maybe you want to just say how you're feeling. Somebody's feeling great. Anybody moved up from a 3 to a 4, you might not have been catching. Feel relaxed and stimulated. So these are all a wee more oxygenated than laughing. Very relaxed. So you see how simple these were? I mean, when I was doing my own research for giving this class, I went to some of my very respected teachers and looked at their classes, and the simplest and most easy things they said were the ones that I felt I heard and that I wanted to share. So we want to keep those simple things. I want to keep laughing. Mary, you can keep laughing. So we're going to summarize. Stress is a response to something that makes us feel unsafe. Stress often is related to uncertainty, lack of control, and inactivity. And Monica says, I want to keep laughing. Or Mary says that. Monica says, I can't stop smiling. That's wonderful. Stress sets off a cascade of physical reactions. So that's helpful to know. This is normal. There's nothing wrong with me because I'm feeling tense or stressed. It's your body trying to keep you safe, okay? And then we can reclaim some certainty and control by taking action. So one action, acknowledge the stress and share your feelings with somebody you trust. Second action, upgrade your thoughts about what's happening. Notice that we don't say your thoughts are wrong or there's something wrong with you for thinking. We say upgrade. Who doesn't want to upgrade, right? Number 3, signal your body that it's safe by deep breathing. Number 4, unwind the physical reactions with progressive muscle relaxation. And number 5, make new neuron connections with laughter. So I want to thank you all and for joining me for the stress reduction during shelter in place, or as we call it, if you're in Arizona, it's swelter in place, or some people are calling it swearing in place. So I challenge you to come up with your own phrase. I want to thank Patty Smolin of the Schaumburg Library, who has been such an inspiration to me and such a big support to me and such a wise person. And also the Schaumburg Township District Library, where again, I really just want to go spend all of my time. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So if you want your own oasis of peace and calm, if you want to feel lighter and more whole, if you want to have a relaxed body, calm emotions, and a clear mind, I am offering phone and video counseling. And here are the ways you can contact me right there at the bottom of the screen. So Susan Atchison at gmail.com. You can go to my website at becalm1.com. You can find me on Facebook, or you can call me at 847-370-5181. I look forward to connecting with you.
Susan, thank you so very, very much. I enjoyed that. I also enjoyed keeping myself on mute and doing the ha, 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 laughing so no one could hear me. But it really does bring a lot of endorphins up to the surface. So thank you for all the exercises. I'm so very glad that we were able to have your session live streamed to YouTube and keep it up on YouTube for others that can surely benefit from it. And I am sorry, I understand there's a couple of valued patrons that were not able to get into Zoom. Please know that we've made note of it, and we're going to try to identify what the problems were, because for a session on de-stressing, we certainly didn't want to have anyone get have any stresses in trying to get into that session. That's counteractive.
Right?
I do want to make mention of a few things we have going on. Please know that while our library, our structure, our building is closed, online sources are available, and many of them do include some fantastic options of films and books and audiobooks online, as well as music choices to help us de-stress. So you are most welcome to get in touch also with our reference librarian, our reference desk. If you have any questions and you want suggestions in that area, in downloading materials that can help you regulate your stress. We can certainly offer them to you if you have a Schomburg Library card. And if you have any questions about our business sources or suggestions about programs you'd like to see us offer in the future, I've put my email address up there as well. Two other presentations we have coming up in the upcoming weeks is the real estate and lending markets next week, and then how to protect yourself financially in a disaster. So while I tend to work about concentrating in jobs and career transition and business startup and growth and financial literacy, wellness is very much a part of all of that. We all want to be financially well, economically well, intellectually well, and just bring the best of ourselves into each day, especially during these times. So Susan, thank you again so very, very much.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste. Take care.
Bye.